In a village, there lived 4 men who were so foolish that nobody would employ them. At last, they went to an old lady and pleaded for employment, and, in the kindness of her heart, the old lady asked them to bring from the thatch field some bundles of thatch for roofing her house. The 4 foolish men came back, each with a bundle of thatch. The first foolish man asked the old lady, "Where shall put the bundle, woolstress?" And the old lady replied, "Put it behind the kitchen." Although the other 3 foolish men heard the question and answer, each of them asked in turn, "Where shall I put the bundle, mistress?" And the lady made the same answer, "Put it behind the kitchen." The 4 foolish men went back to the field and brought back another 4 bundles of thatch. Each in turn asked, "Where shall I put the bundle, mistress?" And the lady gave the same answer, "Put it behind the kitchen." The 4 men went back to the field and brought back another 4 bundles. The first foolish man asked, "Where shall I put the bundle, mistress?" And the lady shouted in anger, "You fool, put it behind the kitchen." The second foolish man asked, "Where shall I put the bundle, mistress?" This time the lady lost her temper altogether and said sarcastically, you fools, put all your precious bundles on my head." And the foolish men threw down the bundles on her head, and the poor lady was killed. When the neighbors discovered what the foolish men had done, they beat them. Then the villagers gave the foolish men an axe and sent them to cut down a tree and make coffin for the poor old lady. The 4 foolish men wandered on aimlessly along until they came to a big tree. "Let us cut this down," suggested the first foolish man.
"Good," agreed the second foolish man. "I will climb to the top of the tree and help it to fall by my weight." "We will wait with our boulders braced," said the third and the fourth foolish men together, "so that the tree will fall on our shoulders. Otherwise, we would have to lift the fallen tree onto our shoulders later." So the first man started to cut down the tree. The second foolish man climbed to the top of the tree, and the other 2 stood with their shoulders braced, ready to receive the tree as it fell. At last the tree fell, killing the 2 foolish men who were waiting to receive it on their shoulders. The foolish man who was at the top of the tree helping it to fall with his weight fell down, but luckily he was merely stunned by the fall. The foolish man who cut down the tree was puzzled. Are my companion dead, or are they merely asleep? So he sat down and waited. The foolish man who was merely stunned recovered consciousness and sat up. "Have you woken up?" asked the first foolish man. The other looked around and replied, "I am awake, but our 2 companions are still asleep." So the 2 foolish men sat down and waited for their companions to wake up. After 2 or 3 days, a woodcutter passed by and was surprised to see the 2 dead bodies under a tree and 2 men sitting calmly nearby. "What the matter, friends?" he asked.
"We're waiting for our friends get up," replied the 2 foolish men. "They are so lazy they do nothing but sleep." The woodcutter was astounded at their answer and asked, "Do you not know that they are dead?" "Are they the foolish?" asked in return. "How do you know that they are dead?" "You fool," said the woodcutter, "where are your noses? Can you not recognize the foul smell of rotting flesh that comes from a dead body?" Then the woodcutter went away, and the 2 foolish men stood up and walked aimlessly along the road. As they had been without food for some days, the first foolish man belched out some wind. "A foul smell comes from your mouth," said the second foolish man. "And did not that wise man say that we should know a dead man by the foul smell of his rotting body?" "What you say is true," replied the first foolish man, "and I am dead." So saying, he lay down fun-length on the roadway. At that moment, the second foolish man also belched out some wind. "A foul smell issues from my mouth, and I must be dead," cried he. He also lay down length on the road.
By and by, an elephant driver on his elephant came along and swore at the 2 foolish men for being in his way. "How can we get up and make way for you?" said the foolish men indignantly, "for we are dead."
"I will soon restore you to life," said the elephant driver with feeling. Jumping down from his elephant, he gave 2 or 3 sharp pricks with his driving spear on the legs of the 2 foolish men, who jumped up in pain.
"Your spear is a magic one," the foolish men said, "for it restores the dead to life. Please exchange it with our axe." As the axe was more valuable than the spear, the elephant driver made the exchange and drove away. The two foolish men went on until they came to the house of a rich man whose beautiful daughter had just died. "We can restore your daughter to life," boasted the foolish men, "for we are physicians." The doting father was overjoyed with this offer of the foolish men and promised to reward them with gold and jewels if they could bring his daughter to life again. The two foolish men asked to be left alone with the dead girl, and, when they were alone with the dead body, they pierced and cut it many times with their spear, but she remained dead. After some time, the rich man came in and was very angry to see the body of his beloved daughter disfigured with cuts and pricks. He called his servants and ordered them to beat the foolish men until they were black and blue. When the beating was over, the rich man asked the foolish men, "You are strangers to my daughter and to me, yet why did you want to harm even her dead body?" "Master," replied the foolish men, "we only wanted to please you, so that we could get some food." The rich man, realizing that they were merely foolish fellows, said, "You stupid men! You should shed tears and say, 'Oh, sister, why have you left us? We mourn and sorrow for you.'" Then he allowed them to go away.
The two foolish men went on and came to a house where a wedding was being celebrated. They rushed in, and seizing hold of the bride and shedding tears said, "Oh, sister, why have you left us? We mourn and sorrow for you." Of course this caused an uproar, and the bride's brothers beat the foolish men until they were black and blue. "Oh, we only wanted a little food, and we were merely trying to please you," explained the foolish men. The brothers realized that they were merely foolish fellows and said, "You fools, you ought to dance and sing and say how happy you are." Then they let the foolish men go away. The two foolish men went on until they came to a house where a man and his wife were quarreling and beating each other. The foolish men rushed in and started to dance round the couple, singing, "We are so glad, we are so happy." At this insult, the couple stopped quarreling and turned round and beat the foolish men until they were black and blue. "Oh, we only wanted a little food, and we were merely trying to please you," explained the foolish men. The couple realized that they were merely foolish fellows and let them go after saying to them, "You fools, you ought to part us, saying, 'Curb your anger. After all, you are man and wife.'" The two foolish men went on until they saw two buffaloes goring each other with their horns. The two foolish men rushed in between the buffaloes, saying, "Curb your anger. After all, you are man and wife." The buffaloes gored the two foolish men to death, and that was the end of the four foolish men.